Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Distinguished Speaker Series. Thank you so much for joining us. I know some of you will be seeing it live. We are streaming it in so many different platforms today. We are streaming in Facebook, we're streaming in YouTube Live, we're streaming in LinkedIn. I know a number of you watch it in replay, so put hashtag replay down there. If you're watching it in live, put hashtag live here. I am so thrilled and excited because I love, this is one of my favorite things to do, is to bring a distinguished member from our webinar accelerator to come in and talk to them about their story, their journey, and how did they become the entrepreneur they are, and what makes them so unique and so good at what they do. For those of you that are new, that are joining us for the first time, my name is Asma Wesley, and I am the owner and founder of Accelerate Global. It's a global educational and personal growth organization which helps you structure your businesses, create a consistency of income and cash flow, regardless of what the environment is, month over month. So that is, sometimes I feel that's my side job, only because I talk to so many wonderful entrepreneurs and I find their stories so amazing and so wonderful that I have to keep bringing them back each week. And today, I'm honored to bring Dr. Angela Wesley to our platform. Hello, Dr. Angela. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Asma?
I'm very well. And you're known as Dr. A. So I don't know, you tell me, how would you like me to address you? Do I call you Dr. Angela, Dr. A, or Dr. Angie?
You know what, Asma, because we're friends, you can call me Angie, Dr. A. That's usually what people call me, Dr. A.
Of
So,
course. No, and that's an earned title. So of course, the Dr. A is the Angie effect, of course.
yes, there we go.
And you have such a long and, you know, illustrious history. I got to introduce you to our listeners and to our audience. You hold a doctorate in PhD in business admin and business strategy and innovation. And
Mhm.
before that, you got a master's in MSc in leadership and higher education, as
Correct.
well as you did your undergrad. I think it's in the same category, right?
It's actually, I
Um,
got a double psychology communication in undergrad.
Oh my goodness. I know you are well decorated. It's hard for me to come. And you have a corporate background also. And yet here you are teaching women how to be badass.
Yes.
You tell me more about that, Angie. Come on.
It's so funny because I started off in the corporate world just in project management process, and I could see how things could connect. But on the side, and even in my corporate, women always gravitated towards me. They always said, there's just something about you. I remember I don't know if many people know about who Susan Taylor is, but she was the editor of Essence Magazine. And I went to go see her speak, and there was thousands of women, and she was like, there's something about you. When I went to have her sign my book, she goes, did you notice I was looking at you? And I'm like, really? And she's like, you have something that's just a connection. And women have always gravitated. And I think I looked at the corporate world and I never felt completely fulfilled in the corporate side. I gained a lot, but I always had this passion, even when I started teaching group exercise for women. And I was like, hey, I know the struggles I've had. What if I take my process and the project management and merge my two worlds together? So that's kind of
What
where
an
I came
interesting
into.
concept. What an interesting concept. So tell me more about so let's go back to your background, because I'm going to come back to the Angie
Yes,
effect and find out
yes,
what is the Angie effect, right? But so
yes.
you went into the corporate world. How long did you stay there in
Whew.
total?
It's so funny because I got into the corporate world because the college I went to, I worked in the president's office, and one of the CEO of the second largest office furniture manufacturing company was on the board. And he said to me, when you graduate, you got a job with us. And it was at Herman Miller Inc. And Kerm Campbell, I was just like, you don't tell a college student who's graduating. So I got in there. I got into Herman Miller in 92. I think it was. And I stayed in the corporate world up until actually starting the Angie effect. And that it's been about a year and a half now. So I have a
Wow.
long endeavor with the
That's an
company.
extensive depth of experience,
Yes, it
right?
is. Mhm.
And during that time that you worked on project management, process development, but there were some tougher times for you there too, because I know we always have this conversation pre-interview as well, right? So I
Yeah.
know that you had challenges there too. You want to talk about your ups and your downs throughout that process, because
Well,
that's what brought you to this moment today, right?
it really actually was even before that. I would say even when I was younger, 'cause I grew up in a very religious household. And in that religious household, I wasn't really allowed to be me. I
Mhm.
wasn't allowed to tap into, I didn't know who I was,
Mhm.
because everything was about the church. I couldn't read magazines. I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't do any of that. There was this calling that I knew there was something different about me. And there was different situations that occurred that I remember one pivotal moment when I was 12 that there was a letter that I wrote, and I didn't know the first thing about writing what we would call a nasty letter. And I think it was something like, oh, I love you or whatever. And I'm like, I'm 12 years old. And I just remember looking at us like 12 men looking at me saying that I was evil, I was a Jezebel, I was all of these things. And I remember sitting in that chair in front, and my mom had my brother and sister in another room. And I remember I sat there and I said, I will never let a man dictate anything in my life. And so I created this wall of protection around me that as I got older, that wall, even though it was there to protect little Angie, that when
Mhm.
grown Angie came into being, I didn't know how to deal with things because little Angie had this guard up. And so when I got engaged and things kind of fell apart with the engagement because he was still married, and this is later on, it really, I broke. I knew
Mm.
I had to do some work. I had to
Right.
fix because even though I was a director at Dell, I all these great companies. I was the project manager for the Washington Navy Yard in DC. So when
Mhm.
people saw me, I
They saw the steel Angie,
yeah,
right?
they're like, oh, she's amazing. She's every woman. I want to be like her. But what they didn't know that when I
Mm.
was at home, I was crying. I was standing in the shower. I was sitting in the car and I was miserable and I couldn't figure out why. So I had to dig down and figure out what is it? What is missing? And that's kind of how I did the work. I started doing like reading, and then I met with a transcendental therapist that uses yoga. And since I was teaching yoga, I was just like, oh, this is amazing. But when I started seeing how peeling back the layers brought out the real me, and the work is consistent. It's not like you do it one time and poof.
No,
It's all
no,
gone.
you have to continue with it. But isn't it amazing? It's like a butterfly coming out of a cocoon because we don't even know sometimes that we have that capability. We have the wings. We can fly for sure. Hi,
Yeah.
Stephanie, she's joining us live. Thank you so much for doing that. But yes, you're right. So would you call that 12-year-old you sitting in front of those people a defining moment in your life?
Oh, it was definitely a defining moment because if I ever go back and say what was one of my triggers, is right then when I said, no one is going to ever control me. No one
Mhm.
is going to tell me, and specifically men. And so I realized that attitude or that decision even affected my relationships when it
I was gonna say, tell me more about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it affected my relationships because I would put up a guard. The moment I would think that, and this is somebody I love, someone that I
Mhm.
think, I plan on marrying you. So, but as soon as I thought they were trying to be more controlling, little Angie came up and was like, you're not going to do that. And so my communication would change and would shift. And so I had to learn how to face that and say, okay, I even though there's some issues with what they need to do, I have to work on me. I have
Mhm.
to break down that wall, or I will never be pure. I will never be able to accomplish the things that I really want to, because I will always stop myself. And we don't even realize it sometimes.
No, no.
We don't realize somehow, and that's what I, in my 12-step program, Stepping into Your Badassery, one of the things is all about knocking out the BS, getting
Mhm.
rid of all of that, because we don't realize some of the things that we were taught when we were younger. Because studies have shown between the ages of 7 to 9, we used to think it was older. 7 to 9 is where you start formulating how you see the world and how you interact with the world.
Mhm.
So if you don't deal with those things from the past and knock out the things that you were told by your parents, maybe religious leaders or authority figures in your life, it
Mhm.
dictates everything. And here I am turning 50 something. I'm like, oh my gosh, who am, well, actually it started when I was like 40. I'm like, who am I? What's going on? How am I trying to figure out this now? Right?
Yes, true. I found myself in my 40s too. Up until that point, even though I've had wonderful people in my life that come through, it's you need to work on yourself in order to do that. And that's
Yes,
what
you do.
so you took that energy and you threw it in the corporate world for a very long period of time,
Hmm.
right? But that you were still miserable, you said, in that process, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I was in the
yeah.
mid. It was. It's kind of. It's one of those things where I was good at what I was doing. People were like, "We need Angie on the team for this, that, and the other,"
Mhm.
but I would go home and didn't feel fulfilled. I would go home and feel lost. I would go
Mhm.
home and just feel empty. But why? I'm making the money. I got the title. I got a gorgeous man that's by my
Mhm.
side. I'm doing
Mhm.
all the things. So why am I feeling like a shell of myself? And so
Mhm.
that's where, when I did the work, I said, okay, let me put this into the corporate world. But then I realized this is so much bigger than the corporate world.
Mhm.
I would like
Mhm.
to be able to come in and share with
Mhm.
individuals that work in the corporate world to talk about how can you be show up as your best self every day in your profession, but also personally. How can
Mhm.
you show up wholly, not just a part of yourself, but complete,
Mhm.
and be comfortable and know that you're a badass? Because we're badasses. We are
Mhm.
born great.
Own it, right? So
And
was that your
own it.
was that your aha moment? What was your aha moment where you thought, okay, it's about time, and I'm gonna leave this and go and do something
It's funny because when I'm sure there's so many people, even in your audience, that when you have a regular check coming in, you get comfortable, right?
else?
You're like,
I was
hey,
one of them.
yeah,
I was
my
one of
bills
them.
are being, exactly.
Yeah.
My bills are being paid. I can go on my vacations. I can do all the things. I don't have to worry about. So even though you're working on your business and you have this desire, you have this fear like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. But even though I was telling the universe or the creator, God, Allah, whatever you believe in, I was just like, oh my goodness, I want to do something so much more. Well, when you put those words out there,
Mm-hmm.
they hear. And so COVID happened. COVID happened, and I thought my job was secure, even though we were working with K through 12 and providing services there. I'm like, I'm the top producer. Everything is great. I have nothing to worry about. But it got worse. So then COVID hit, and I was like, what do I do? And I could have just stayed down, but I pulled myself up by my bootstraps, and I was just like, you know what? It's my time. It's
Mm-hmm.
my time to step out there and be like, you know, it's time for me to
Mm-hmm.
share. And I put together my program, the 12 steps, and then I was teaching all the time, so I kind of tested it out on some of those that came to my classes, and
Mm-hmm.
they were like, I need more of this. And I was like,
Mm-hmm. That
this,
makes sense. But that wasn't your first attempt at that. You had started to learn and teach boxing of all
yes,
the things.
yes.
Isn't that a
That's a,
badass?
that's a good point, because when I was teaching in the group exercise, I started teaching heavy bag, and I got into boxing as a form of my own personal release to get rid of all the anger, anything that was frustrating me. And so then I took it into the studios, and I would see if anybody's out there that remember the kickboxing and everybody would be just dancing and kicking. I was like, no, I want women to know how to throw a punch correctly to protect yourself. And when you learn how to throw the punch just right, there's this confidence that you get. All of a sudden, you find yourself walking, shoulders back, chest up, chin, and nobody can mess with you because you have this confidence.
We're
And
getting hearts on that. We're getting really connecting
yeah,
with people.
but
Yes.
that's what it's about. It's about being able to walk it and know that no matter what somebody is saying or doing around you, I
Mhm.
got this. And I was just like,
Mhm.
ooh, if I take that and add it to the stepping into your badassery, women will be like, what? And that's
Mhm.
exactly what's been happening.
That's wonderful. That's been, so. Did that boxing help you with your own therapy as well? Was that therapeutic to you? Did
Oh,
that
heck
help
yeah.
you?
It
Yeah.
was so funny. It was the balance of the boxing and the yoga. So I was
Mhm.
able to box it up, go and hit and well on that
Mhm.
bag, but then and learn to let it go. It was just
Mhm.
it's and that's what I do in my program. I give a combination
Mhm.
of exercise through boxing, showing how to throw punches correctly, but then also the meditation and
Mhm.
understand how to work through it, because there's a lot of homework assignments where there's one exercise in particular that you invite to a table, an imaginary table, the individuals that you felt that have wronged you, and you
Mhm.
speak to each and every one of them. So it's some work, but it's
So it's a
amazing.
visualization therapy that you call, right? With
Yes.
and I believe there's another it's called transcendental.
Transcendental therapy. Yep. Transcendental
You're the
therapy.
one. You're the expert, not me. So you tell me what it is.
Yeah.
But it's
Transcendental.
yeah.
It is. It's about it's about getting in here, because lots of times we lock things deep away in our hearts and in our
Mm-hmm,
brain, and we separate it from who we are,
mm-hmm,
thinking it's going to make us stronger and better, but it
mm-hmm,
doesn't. So you have to unlock, face it, deal with it, understand. I call it, the first step is the heart of the matter, just putting it
mm-hmm,
all out there. Then it's blow by blow to take out the emotion, because as women, we become so emotional that we take out the emotion and we look at it from what is it as it is, and then we deal with
mm-hmm,
it.
mm-hmm. I like that what you're coming from you, especially given what you have gone through. You earlier you talked about working on yourself, and I remember I wrote this quote down from you when you were kind of in a shock or you were not able to answer the question when the therapist asked you what do people say about you and why, right? It
Yeah.
was a point and a moment of reflection. You want to talk a little bit about that and
Oh,
how
it's so funny because people would always say, and I kind of started our conversation today about it. People would say, "Oh, you're every woman. I want to be like you. You're so amazing. You're so great. You're so confident. You know, you're such a badass. You can go." And inside, I was like, "Really, me?" And
Mhm.
so the therapist said to me, "Why is it that you don't believe what
Mhm.
other people are saying about you?"
Yeah,
And I
that's what
was just like,
nowadays being called the imposter syndrome these days, but people use different terms, different words. Why is it that we don't believe in ourselves, Dr. Angie?
because a lot of that comes from the fact that we call it you call it generational trauma, you can call it all these things, that things have happened to us that causes us to doubt ourselves, that doubts our ability. It could be watching TV, we don't look a certain way, we don't talk a certain way, we don't act a certain way, or what is put into a box that says is the perfect person or the perfect woman. And so all of a sudden, we go into this self doubt. I'm not good enough. I'll never be like that. I can't
Mhm.
accomplish that. Who am I? Why would
Mhm.
somebody want to deal with me? Why would somebody? We go through all of this self doubt. So instead of speaking the life and the positive energy into who we are, we take
Mhm.
on the negative, you know?
Mhm.
And it's so funny because I just talked about this on my Facebook, on my Instagram page. I talked about, Tuesdays are my Tuesday roars. And I talk about less criticism or critiquing our bodies, more realizing and cherishing who we are and realizing our bodies are a gift. But that's the same thing with our spirits, because as women, we see everything else and we compare ourselves to other people, but we don't accept ourselves for who we are. And that
Mhm.
causes a lot of the self doubt. That causes us not to see what other people see. How often have somebody said to you, Asma, you're beautiful? And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
really?
Uh-huh.
You think
Yeah,
so?
that's right.
Instead of saying, thanks, girl,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Instead, we are taught that to be confident in ourselves or to say, hey, I look pretty today is
Mhm.
selfish. We can't speak those words. We can't talk about how we look. We got to tell somebody else, you look amazing, you look good,
Mhm.
but we don't say those words to ourselves. And
Mhm.
that's where it starts. It starts with the self love and connect.
Self-awareness.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Great
Oh
thing.
my gosh, that's such a revelation, and I'm sure a number of people, especially women, are going to connect with that and understand with that. So that's the point where you started this group therapy or group
Coaching.
program that actually
Mhm.
helps. So is it a it's kind of like a mind body life coaching?
Yeah. So I'm a holistic wellness and empowerment coach. So
Mm-hmm.
I take all of my group exercise, all of my certifications, and as a life coach, as a mind body coach, all the certifications I got, and even my group exercise, boxing, personal training on top of my degrees. And I package all of that together because I'm like, I have all of this stuff, I have all of this experience, it has to come together. So I take all of that and help women between the ages of 36 and 56 to really figure out, who are you personally as well as professionally. And so that's where you could do the group coaching where, it's it's on a Sunday and it's for 2 hours where we really go through each of the 12 steps. You walk away with homework, and then you have like a 30-minute one-on-one session with me during the week, because a lot of stuff comes up when you go to
Mm-hmm.
do the hard work. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
always there to go through the steps with them. So that's kind
Mm-hmm.
of where I take all of that. And then if you just like, hey, I just want to do a one-on-one, because I have a couple clients that like, my life is a mess. I don't know if
Right,
I'm
and
ready to
that
share.
cannot come out in the group therapy sessions. I got to ask you this question, Dr. A. Why boxing? Not everybody thinks of boxing, picking up boxing as a part of a therapy or something that is, going to help them through situations like that.
There's a couple reasons why. One, I think it's one of the best ways. Well, I started off in kickboxing classes.
Mhm.
And when I saw the booty shaking and the dancing, I'm like, this isn't, no, we really need to use this exercise to know how we can really knock things out and how to
Mhm.
get it out. And when I started learning how to hit
Mhm.
the heavy bag and to put everything into it, oh my gosh, I walked away and I was just like, wow, it's gone. And so,
Yeah.
and then when you learn, again, to go back to the self defense, when you learn, because I think as women, sometimes we don't feel confident in our
Mhm.
abilities to protect ourselves. And there's
Mhm.
so much crap that happens out there where, you
Mhm.
know, whistled at while you're walking down the street, or you're being judged by your body, what you're wearing. But if you have the confidence that, you know what, if somebody touches me and stuff, I know I will never be able to beat a man, but they sure will know that if they lay their hands or touch me inappropriately, I got something for them, and then I can run and get out of
Yeah.
there. So that's all about empowerment. So the box
And you
was
have the tools and the mindset, right? That you provide both.
exactly.
Right.
And when I saw Layla Ali and saw
Ooh.
that she was beautiful, had the body and a badass, and the way she
I follow her too. I love what and her coach. She's kind of like she has the spirit of her dad, doesn't she? Right.
completely, completely. And when she said that, her father always used to say, fly like a butterfly, sting like a bee, right? And if you think about that, that's something that is important. Like I have this beautiful butterfly bush outside of my front door. And I look at it because or if you look at my page, I have a lion with a butterfly on the nose. And the reason why is because as women, we're lionesses. We are we are all about our pride, because a group of lioness are called prides, and we're about the family. We're about bringing the people we love, but then at the same time, we need to be able to handle our business. We need
True.
to, but the only way we can do that is by being clear on who we are.
So right. So Dr. Angie, we're almost to the end. 30 minutes go by so fast.
So quick.
Ask you. So the if you knew what you know now back when,
Mm.
what would you tell that little Angie?
I would tell little Angie, be fearless. Be fearless. Do not let Don't be stymied by all the things that you see around you, because it doesn't last. Don't allow it to change who you are, and don't hide your light, because we all have this beautiful light that, because we have breakups, disappointment, things that hurt us, that is almost like each time is just hammering us down. And so we become less and less of who we are. So be fearless and shine your light.
Thank you. That's an amazing high note that we could actually end this conversation at.
Yeah.
But I do, being an entrepreneur, the badass that you are with your program, I really, really wish you all the best. And we're going to share your links, obviously. This is going to go on to our YouTube channel as well as everywhere else that we're present. So I'm so happy and thrilled, really, to talk to you today. And I know that you have also graciously thrown a little something. Stephanie says that was amazing. Thank you so much for
Yes,
sharing
yes, Stephanie.
that. You also did throw something in our freebie pot, right? You're offering a 30-minute consultation.
Correct.
You want to talk about that?
Yes, I would love. I'm offering a 30-minute consultation. Come in, let's chat it up, let's talk about. I even have a couple on my website. Once you put the links up, you also have a couple freebies. There's an amazing self-care guide that you can download, as well as a wellness assessment. And it looks at where you are from your nutrition to your stress management and your activity. So then when we come together for your free 30 minutes, we will talk through, what are you feeling? Let's just lay it out there, and I'll ask you some questions. And I want to be able for you to feel comfortable to really open up. And usually that first 30 minutes, people are like, oh my God, you're like my best friend. How did this happen? And I'm like, because we get to talk. And sometimes you don't realize how much you really just need someone who can ask the right questions that will get you saying, this is what I need. So
That's true.
that is all for
And thank you for doing that for free, because it's really high value. It's like $250 value that you're
yes,
actually
yes,
giving it away for our members. So thank you so much for doing that, Dr.
of
Angie.
course.
Angela, appreciate it. And of course, we're going to come back with another new member come next week. So stay tuned for that. But I truly appreciate you showing up today and coming and doing this interview with us. Have a great day, and we'll see you again. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye bye now.